Hi, friends. Welcome to the Mastermind Moments podcast.
Hosted by your pals, Josh and Sasha.
Join us during our weekly mastermind as we collaborate on how to make the most out of our lives.
Not only are we going to mastermind our careers, we're going to work on all areas of life together.
Let's do it. Listen in as we make the most of our mastermind moments. Hello. How's it going?
It's going. Life is going. I'm here to paint the scene for everybody listening. I'm here in Australia with our really good pal, Craig, who we also know from Tony Robbins summer camp.
Good morning, it's the gang.
Oh, we know everybody
Literally,
from Tony
yeah.
Robbins summer
We're
camp.
not exactly helping the accusations of the cult when everyone we bring on is from that environment.
Yeah, true. Everyone listening is going to be like, and another friend from Tony Robbins summer camp?
That's exactly how I introduce everybody. I say, welcome, this is my friend from the cult.
Yeah.
Well, you told your roommates last night that we knew each other from fat camp.
Yeah, it's good as well. It
Fat
works
camp is a
either
good
way.
one, yeah.
I think people are much more accepting of that. It's very interesting to people.
Also could be culty
Sure.
as well. Yeah. It's crazy because I met one of our friends that we had on, Katie. She has this thing where it's like, oh, do you know who Tony Robbins is? Yes or no. If it's a no, it's like, oh, we met at summer camp. Like, that's all you need to know.
It's funny you say fat camp because when I
Yeah,
first went
crazy.
to Gills, one of
When I
the
first went to
only
Gills?
things I knew about UCSD was that they have a fat camp there. And one of my friends from school had gone to this. I told him I was going to this summer camp in San
Gone to
Diego, and
this-
he was like, "Oh, is it the fat camp?" And I was like, "Oh, do I look like I need to go to a fat camp?" When I was 14 years old, I definitely didn't. But that was it's funny you say that.
They have so many camps that go through that college campus, though, because there were always other camps happening. And sometimes there were like
yeah.
years where like our camp would get heated with the other, like the math camp, you know?
Right. I'm sure Josh will remember when the cheerleaders camp was on at the same time, and then that was probably the third year of Gills, and then you had to try and walk your little dorm of horny teenage boys past where all the cheerleaders were. That was a really
God, yeah,
exciting
forgot
year,
about that.
actually.
Good times.
I always just remember the math camp. I don't remember the cheerleader camp, but I guess I wouldn't remember the cheerleader camp. Or maybe I would. I don't know. I have no idea. Yeah, so we got super tight with Craig like our third year of Gills, or third year of like Tony Robbins summer camp. So, and you haven't been back for a long while.
No, I haven't been back since 2014.
Whoa. Wait, was youth leader your last year?
No, you're right. The year after,
The year after.
2016.
2016. Okay. Got it.
Wow, that's
Whoa. That's so like almost 10. It's almost been a decade
my
since we've
God,
seen you.
wow, that's
Yeah,
insane.
probably.
What?
I know. But I feel like the years that no one talks about are also included in those, 9 years. And those years, you didn't really see much of anyone for some reason. Nobody was going around anywhere.
COVID.
Yeah.
Have COVID. Yeah. It's really wild. It's funny to like last night we had a catch up. And it's like, oh, well, what's been happening for you since the last like decade? You know?
Covered a lot of ground.
We did. And it's like nice to kind of give a chronological, like this happened, then this happened, then this happened, and now I'm here.
Yeah, 10 years. 10
So,
years of
that was
stuff
pretty
is,
wild.
is a lot. To catch up
Anyway,
on.
let's spin a wheel. Social. What are your favorite, best ways to meet new people and expand your social circle? What do you think?
This one for me, like at the start of a year and a half ago, I moved to Newcastle and I started doing medicine, an internship in Newcastle. And a lot of the people that I know do come from that medicine circle because everybody is kind of there all the time. So it's quite easy to kind of, capture a friend. But I think that about halfway through last year, I realized I didn't just want friends in medicine. So there's a few things that I wanted to do, and I found that the one that I wanted to do the most was group sport. So here in Australia, there's loads of social competitions and social teams where you can sign up to just even an age bracket. As long as you're not super choosy in the sport, you'll be able to find like a huge amount of people that are also there, and the only reason that everyone's there is because they want to have a good time. No one, at least the culture in this environment is no one wants to, you know, win the state medal or whatever. It's not about that, but it's about everyone gets intensely, competitive in a fun way about kind of a sticker or a little sheet that says congratulations for, finishing the season. And I found a lot of really good mates that way.
What sport are you playing?
So I play Oz tag and I play netball. I actually, out of the two, I prefer netball, which was really an unexpected kind of discovery for you
I know
guys.
what
Probably both
netball
don't know
is.
what
Yeah,
netball
I don't
is.
know
netball
what either
in
of
the
these are.
Oh
UK,
yeah,
I
yeah.
think is growing
Yeah.
in the men's game, but is more of a kind of is played more by the women at school anyway.
More of a kind.
Yeah, no, that's the same in Australia as well. So it's a predominantly previously female game, but they have mixed teams where they allow up to 3 boys to be on the field at any one time out of a team of 7. And you just do a lot of running. If someone's really bad, they'll start out in a position called wing defense, and then they'll just, get promoted from there based on how good they are. Some of the positions are more challenging. So anyway, I play wing defense.
Wait, is it like a handball situation?
Oh, it's actually a bit of a misnomer, to be honest, because there's no net, but there is one ball. So you throw the ball like it's like kind of like basketball, except you don't bounce the ball, and when you've got the ball in your
Yeah.
hands, you don't move your feet.
Exactly.
Those are probably the
So it's
biggest
kind of like
rules of the
standstill
game.
basketball in
Okay.
a way.
So how do you? Okay, but then if there's no net, how do you like get points?
Uh, there's a hoop like on a stick. There's no backboard, and you have to shoot into the hoop on the stick.
Okay, okay, got it.
And there's like real technical rules about how you do lots of other things, but that's like kind of the gist of it.
Okay,
And you'd think it'd be really slow because you're standing still when you throw the ball, but no, it's actually it's not. It's definitely not the intensity level of basketball. Like if you watch like even like a social league of basketball, people get sweaty, but they also do that in netball.
okay.
Um,
Well, I assume because you guys have to run to pass to each other. Yeah. Okay.
But you've got to run to get the ball. So you're running to get into some open space. And then as soon as you have the ball, you're like kind of throwing that off to somebody new and running again. But in the middle, you've got to like completely stop what your feet are doing, or else it's a travel and you kind of move out.
Okay.
But I love that. I've really, really love that
So
actually.
you made your friends through that.
Yeah. I think quite actually a huge amount of my friends I've made
made you
through
choose
playing
netball?
netball. Well, I wasn't choosy. I just said I don't really care what it is, but I just need to do something which isn't work right now. In kind of the Australian junior doctor kind of life, you work quite a lot, like anywhere in the hospital. And then when that's going good, that is so good. But when that's going bad, that is just so trash. So one of the only things that, you can do is to just have something outside of it. And I really like structure as a spoiler alert. So like a directed group activity was really good for me.
Social
What about you,
butterfly.
Josh? Social
well, not so
butterfly.
much at the moment. I find it's an interesting time to ask that question because obviously I've lost my community really quite recently. By my own accord, it was my own fault. But I still have all of my friends from that community, but now I'm in a position where I need to find a way to make new friends. And I'm also at a stage in my life where I want to be surrounding myself with people that inspire me and not necessarily the same people that I've been partying with for years. They're kind of still in that phase and I'm slowly moving out of that phase. So, I want to be surrounding myself with more kind of us and that kind of thing. Which I am struggling with a little bit, but I swear by online groups, online communities, and
swear
getting
by
involved with those.
my
That's
group.
how I built my community before. And, I made so many friends that way. So I think one of my big goals this year is to really get into networking events and start, putting myself out there. Because the only way you can do it is by actually going to things, right? Just like
It's the only way.
Craig with, going to sports things, you with your coffee and chill kind of, and that type of stuff. I
Yeah.
just need to get out there and stop people and start rebuilding that community.
Yeah, absolutely. Like finding aligned groups. That was the best thing in Miami was just to like the 420 yoga group and the walking group and the coffee and chill, like these kinds of events. I mean, but that's the thing with Miami is that there were so many of them. Right now, like I mean, I'm seeing so many loved ones all over the world that I haven't seen in like a decade, like tons of people. So in that way, like I'm not expanding my circle. I'm just revisiting people that I normally wouldn't get a chance to see. But as far as expanding my circle, it's these like activities that I'm doing where I'm meeting other travelers where like, okay, for example, I did my first scuba dive um in Port Douglas a couple of days ago, and we met so many people on the boat. Just be like, oh, where are you traveling from? Oh, you're from the States too? Whoa, like you live down the block from my brother. Like that's crazy. So stuff like that, or like meeting other travelers just in these like activities I'm doing. Even yesterday I went to like Mecca, which is the Australian version of like Sephora basically. And my 9 to 5 job, we have like a stand there, and I just stood there and like was looking at our products, and a customer came over and like wanted, and I like made friends with this customer. So it's like kind of just putting yourself in these like just like saying hello to people around you in life, because really we're just like here around in life, and there were other people existing in their own little bubble as well, and we don't just like say hi. Like we just kind of exist in our own world. Yeah, and like aligned groups are kind of everything, and I feel like people kind of can get stuck in the like, oh well, like my friends are from school, my friends are from work, my friends are from like this pre-existing activity that we're kind of forced into, as opposed to like going and finding people that are super aligned with our values. And sometimes like you are who you surround yourself with. So it's like you kind of need to like actively go and like figure out, okay, what are my values? Like what groups are aligned with that? How can I like find them or put myself in situations where I find them? Which would be really interesting for you, Josh, as you're like building a new
Absolutely.
circle of
I,
people
I
who are
also
super
think that,
aligned.
I mean, talking
Yeah.
to people and one of my big sort of rules or shifts this year is that I want to start talking to more people in public. I'm good at making friends. I'm good at talking to people in environments, but if I'm just sitting on the train or I'm out at a restaurant or something, I won't
Right.
just get chatting to people. And I think that's very weird to do in London, or is seen as very weird to do. Londoners
Seen
are,
as
or
very
Brits in
weird.
general, are pretty kind of keeping to themselves, not very interested in anyone on their commute to work. And, I won't be talking to people on my commute because I wouldn't like it if someone spoke to me on my commute at 7 in the morning. But um, I think that's just something I would like to do more. I think
I think that's just
there
something I
is
would
kind
like
of
to do.
I want to say misconception or a stereotype that Londoners or big city people, they just don't want to talk to
Yeah.
you. They just have no interest at all in making friends or getting to know anyone in public. But I actually think that's not necessarily true, because I think places like London can be very lonely places for a lot of people. And so actually, if you just get chatting to someone and you try and brighten their day, a lot of the time they will appreciate it, actually more often than not.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes complete sense. I'd say the same with New York as well, but there's so many like New York is also a very lonely place, but there's so many groups and so many people who are like wanting to find community because it's such a lonely place. It's just like they don't really know where to go and find that. Sometimes it's like a pre-existing activity, but sometimes it's like, well, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I've ever talked to anybody on my commute ever because I'm just so like in my zone. And I'm like, don't fucking talk to me. Don't fucking look at me. Like, don't breathe near me. I
That's so
will
New York of
take
you.
you out.
Yeah. Once upon a time when I was a med student before I knew how to drive, when I was catching the train, it was like an hour and 40-ish minutes, to go each way into uni and back. And I remember on that train ride, you'd think like plenty of opportunity to speak with people, but I was like, no way. No way. I'm reading, I'm doing my stuff, like I'm getting things done, or I'm gonna have a nap. Like there's no chance that I'm gonna be speaking with somebody. But I think that it's a really interesting point because I would never have spoken with somebody on the train before. Even if it was like somebody came and there was no seats and someone sat next to you, that's actually much more likely for me to not speak with someone because I would not like it if somebody was speaking with me on that train as well. So
Yeah. There's also like a typical there's like a breed of person who talks to the people next to them on the plane.
Oh,
And like, I want to be one of those people that's like, hey, how are you? And like, I've talked to a couple of people on planes, but like maybe one or two. But there are some people who like come off of this plane ride and have, like your sister, met the love of her fucking life or made a really good friend, or Mr. Dr. Leprechaun when he came to visit in Australia. On the plane ride, he met somebody and they Venmoed him or sent him $2,500
no, that's
to
crazy.
go network. I don't know. Yeah. Th- I, I don't know. It's like a whole ass story. He sends me a screenshot of like this money and he's like, I didn't think this was real, but it is. This guy just randomly sent, like, we've been talking on the plane and he sent me $2,500 because there's this like group he wants to get involved with where I live. And the only thing holding me back from it is like the fee. So he decided to split the fee with me. And I was like,
Wow.
okay. So like
That's
maybe we should start talking to people on planes.
yeah, maybe $2,500. I could yeah.
But also like I never talk to people next to me on the plane. I don't know why.
I would definitely just if I am going on a plane, I would definitely just try and convince my best mate to come on the plane as well.
Yeah,
then I'll just speak with
I've
him.
only had one bad experience.
Oh my
or
God.
The only experience I've had really
Like
talking to
one
people on
bad
planes was a bad experience. It was on my way to, I think I was on my way to New York actually. No, I was on my way back from New York, and there was this English guy sitting next to me, and we got chatting. Seemed nice enough at the start of the flight. And bear in mind, this was like a 7-hour flight, so quite a long flight. And we got chatting. I don't remember what about, but as the flight progressed, he wouldn't stop talking for
The
pretty
flight
much 3 hours
progressed.
straight, and he progressively got drunker,
Pretty
and
much 3
drunker
hours
and
straight.
drunker, until he started abusing
That's the fear.
the cabin crew. And then I felt like I was kind of associated with him because
And
I'd spent the
I
last
was
3
kind of
hours talking to
with
him,
him 'cause
visibly talking to him.
in the last 3 hours talking
And
to
I
him.
just sort of like quite quickly myself from him the moment he actually started shouting and swearing at the cabin crew, and I was like, nope, I don't know him.
Did
And
you
honestly,
pretend to be
Craig, I think
asleep?
that's where it went in the end. Yeah.
Oh my God. All right. So getting into the meat of the episode, Josh, what's been going well? What hasn't been going well for you? It's
It
been a
has
while
been.
since
It
we've
has
had a
been. You're too
chat,
busy for me these days.
actually. Honest. I mean, you're not wrong that I've been very busy and like, but also finding like the time with the time change is like very crazy.
It's happening.
But yes, what's happening with you?
Interestingly, I was just struggling with what's going well, to be honest, because it's been a really tough couple of weeks. I think at the start of this year, I was really hoping to hit the ground running, and really start to take everything seriously. But there's been a massive mental block, as there always is, it seems, over the last year or two. But it's particularly apparent at the moment. To this year, extremely excited with all these big goals, big ideas, and big kind of plans to execute these ideas. In the past I've had these big businesses, but I've never had an actual kind of path to execute them, and this time I do. But I'm just not doing it, and I feel really weird about it. I think I've established now in my mind what the issue is and what the problem in my mind is, and I think it's a case that I'm struggling to come to terms with the idea of growing up. And I think we have spoken about this before. What growing up means, possibly even last time we spoke. But when I say growing up, I think
Yeah.
I'm in a phase, or have been in a phase for the last couple of years, where I've been partying a lot, where I've been just having fun, living life, and not focusing on my future at all. And now I'm trying, or thinking that I want to try and become serious about life by, waking up early, by working on side hustles, by working out, by eating healthily. And it gives me this really uncomfortable kind of anxiety inducing feeling within my gut, my heart, my head, just everything. It just feels really weird. And I've had this before when I've tried to go these phases before. I mean, we're talking years ago. and
Breathe
I'd go a
space.
few days where I'm waking up at like 6 a.m. and actually trying to get stuff done in the mornings. I feel really weird about it. It's like I know this is what I'm supposed to be
Weird.
doing, but it just doesn't feel right. Weirdly, it's such a weird sensation. It's very hard to sort of describe properly, but I think it is just the fear of growing up, honestly. The fear of leaving behind the fun and the excitement that I've had over the last couple of years, and really just focusing on taking life seriously and actually taking my life to the next level, where I can put myself in a position to have a family, to have kids in the future. So yeah, it's scary, and that's the biggest kind of block for me at the moment. It has been for a long time, but I think I'm finally identifying why I feel that way, if that makes sense.
I don't know. This idea of like, I feel like it's almost the words like growing up, like, and taking life seriously, because is life serious? Maybe you're talking to me at a time where I'm just like, fuck it, whatever, but like, is life really as serious as we're making it to be? And like, of course you don't want to work on shit if you're like, I have to take life fucking seriously and grow up. Like, that's not fun, and that's like not enticing. That's like not an enticing life to live. Even if the things you want to do are really healthy, it's like almost the pre-frame of how you're viewing these things are like you have to do this and grow up and become a real adult and blah blah blah, like, as opposed, like, all these things you want to do are really healthy and awesome, but I feel like it's the pre-frame of how you're like contextualizing what it means to do these things and what kind of person does these things that's like blocking you, because I don't think inherently you want to be that person. I don't think inherently you are the person that's like boring and like taking life like seriously and whatever. Like, maybe it's a balance, but maybe it's like reframing like what this like growing up
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
What do you think, Rick?
I think those are some pretty rough emotions for 7 a.m. in the morning, but also like a vibe, right? Like, I think that if there's this huge thing and ideals that you're trying to get to and commit to, like, it's just so chunked up that it's so hard to get to if that's like the perfect way to be. Like, I feel you. I definitely hear the thing about waking up early and things like that, but it just seems like their goals are someone else. Like they're an incongruent kind of match to who you are at the moment. And you're trying to say, well, I'm going to completely ego death and kill everything about me. No more fun, no more partying. I got responsibilities now. I need to go out and, be boring, join a job at a bank, hustle and grind. Like, I get it. I get it. I think that I felt some of those things as well before. I actually had this really interesting and weird thing happen in med school where who I wasn't matching very well with like supervisor reports. Supervisors can be very mean. And then I realized that all these things of like being this responsible kind of person was what people wanted to see. And I realized, because I normally wear glasses, I realized that you can actually play this up so much, and just like a change of wardrobe completely changes how people perceive you to be. I got these boxy, square glasses that look so nerdy. Someone told me I look like a grown-up version of the Stuart Little kid. And I like these things, they don't like hit all of who I am, but in that context, they really help, like, help a patient see that I am actually their doctor. It builds that trust, fairly quickly, because I look exactly like they want me to look, and I can say things in a way that people want to hear things when they're in that space. But I also get to take the glasses off and not commit to a life of giving up all fun and waking up at 6 a.m. eating like a chia, some crap.
Well, I mean,
So what do you think you're gonna
that's
do?
the other part of it, is that I feel like right now I need to take a different approach, and I obviously need to change my mindset. I think the biggest thing at the moment is how I'm feeling, but I also feel a huge amount of pressure right now. I
Also,
feel very, very stuck in my life. I feel like my life isn't bad. I love my life. I can't complain at all. I have a great job, great relationship, great friendships. Generally my life is pretty stable at the moment, but I don't want stable. I
My
want
life.
outstanding. I want a really, really good life, which right now is not. It's just okay. And I know that if I continue going the way
And
and have been for the last couple of years, and waking up as late as possible before I start work, in some cases,
late
literally
as
5
possible.
minutes before I start work, I literally roll out of bed and get on my computer. Um, if I continue that way, I will be stuck forever. I'm never going to get out of this place. There is never going to be any growth. I'm never going to be able to travel as much as I want, to have a, a family that I can provide comfortably for. It's always going to be this problem, and that terrifies me. I think 2025 was, I had this vision that it's going to be a huge year for me, and I'd drawn out this blueprint and these goals to make it a huge year. Um, Happened yet, and it's only 2 weeks. Of course, I can't be too harsh on myself, but it does terrify me that if I don't make the change this year, am I ever going to do it? And I'm just going to continue another year stuck in this same kind of
Yes.
mundane routine that I just don't enjoy. So it's a mindset shift, and I've got to, I think, also what Craig said about kind of trying to ego death and completely shift who I am and how I behave. That's not a good way to do it initially. I think I'm trying to do too much too soon, and I think taking it step by step and not being too harsh on myself is probably the best way to start. Just doing small things, like for example, last week scrolling completely.
Like for example, last week
I limited my screen time
Hell
down
yeah.
from like
Yeah.
5.5 hours average daily, which is obscene, down to, I think it's down to 2 hours now. And that's progress. That is a step in direction, because scrolling and screen time is holding me back. It's holding me back from working and other things. So I think I've just got to stop being harsh on myself, and I've got to work on small things in different areas, and eventually they'll accumulate, and that ego death will come.
The ego
Is that
death's coming
just
either
a matter of
way,
when?
It's like a self-imposed ego death. I'm just these like things that you want to do. I think you could totally do them. I'd say, like, instead of focusing on like all of them, like pick 1 to 3, that are really going to make that key difference there.
Yeah, no,
And then do
absolutely.
them.
I completely agree.
Yeah. What do you think they are, though?
Well, I've got to look at my little booklet, because
look at
I've got a whole list of things that I want to do, or behaviors that I should be implementing in my life. Starting with time and limiting screen time, and that isn't one rule that I've got. That's kind of, it falls under the no vices, so that means no gambling, no alcohol, no drugs, nothing like that. But that's what I've started with, and I can focus on maybe 2 or 3 things at a time, so that I just don't feel completely overwhelmed and like I can't. But I think the next big thing for me, which I've been saying for, well, how long have we been recording? 6+ months, that I need to be waking up early. And I've set my alarm already for tomorrow.
Set my alarm already.
Okay, great. And put your phone on the other side of the room.
It's so cold here at the moment, though. I'm so jealous that you're in the summer at the moment. It's literally, it's been like -5 this week.
It's been that bad.
It does. But
Sucks
that
to
makes it
suck.
so hard to wake up in the morning.
No, that's so hard to wake up.
Yeah, it's really not good. There's a reason I came to Australia first. I'm like, I need sunshine and warmth, please and thank you.
It would be just so challenging trying to get up when it's 0 degrees outside
Yeah.
or inside.
No.
No,
And I've got my.
it's not happening. We were actually talking just before you came on, just before we started chatting. Sasha and I were talking about, I would wake up in the mornings at like 15 minutes before I go to work, and I'll be like, all right, great, boom, on my bike at work, love. And I feel like, it's a pattern of behavior that I don't particularly hate myself, but cutting out like 5 hours of scroll time down to 2 hours, that is an incredible.
That's an achievement.
3 hours just in the day, that is crazy.
Yeah, you are being really hard on yourself. If you're like already doing these things and like working on these things, like You're just being
Yeah.
hard. It sounds like you're being hard
No,
on yourself, which
100%.
is
I've
like
got to
a
stop
role
seeing,
reversal.
you know, I think I've used this
That's what
metaphor before, but the big mountain and getting scared of it. Exactly. I need to
You're
start
looking at the
taking
whole
those
mountain.
tiny steps up the
Yeah.
mountain, and eventually I'll get to the top. And just look at those, those next steps, those next small steps. And I do think genuinely the next major step is the whole waking up early thing, and I think that's so important, and it has been for such a long time. I've also set my
Cool.
alarm tomorrow for 5:59,
My love.
so I'm changing it. It's not 6:06 anymore. It feels like that has a negative kind of anchor to it, if you know what I mean. Like,
Have a
because I've been
negative
saying it for so long now and I've never done it.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna try and shift it a bit, and we'll see if that works.
Okay. All right.
will.
Well, keep
I
us
will.
posted
I want to
for
know
sure.
about Craig. I mean, I feel that you guys obviously caught up yesterday, but I bumped into your sister.
What?
Well, not bumped into. It was coordinated, but I bumped into your sister. It was an ambush, exactly.
It was an ambush.
Yeah. Oh my God.
I
It
saw the
was,
video.
yeah, one of the highlights of my year. But she told me about that you're a doctor now. What kind of doctor?
Yeah, hopefully an okay one. Yeah. No, I in Australia, how it works is you do like 5 years of medical school if you're an undergrad, and then you do 2 years of kind of residency and internship. So in med school, you do like your 40 hours a week for 3 years, or 35 hours a week for 3 years towards the end of it, where you just rotate through different specialties. But that's kind of like Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. And then internship and residency, they say, just please, really, a lot of the time your job is to write down what the boss says about things. And then the after hours, you kind of try and implement those plans. So, for instance, the boss will say, aim to get this electrolyte above this number. And a task for the afternoon will be take the bloods, work out what the electrolyte is and how much, you need to give orally or IV to try and get up to that point. And that's really one of the limits of what the thinking will be as a doctor for this kind of level. That's like a simplified version of it, but you probably just have, like 100 of these very simple decisions that patient factors will make more complicated. But the principle of what you're doing should be like quite simple in doing what the boss said to do. Like, you're not supposed to be coming up with all the plans and all of the action for somebody's life that's in your hands, at 12 months out of medical school or whatever. So a lot of what I do is just administration. And if I'm in the community and somebody asks what I do, I don't say, yeah, look, I'm a doctor. I always just say, look, I work in the hospital. I'm a paperwork monkey, because that is a large part of my job. But the other thing that being a junior gets you in the hospital is infinite amounts of time. So because you're often rostered there quite a lot, and the job that you're doing isn't so like cerebrally complex like the bosses or the registrars, you get to have some time to spend with patients and, try and make connections and help them a little bit as well. So a lot of what I do is writing, listening to what the boss says, and then making some human connections along the way. So in terms of, FAF, that's the FAF. You're welcome.
Mhm. What other, like, what areas of life right now? Because I gave you a look at the wheel, but
Yeah.
also like, it from Tony Robbins. Like,
Yeah.
the wheel. What areas like feel like they're going great right now? What are not going so great? I mean, like we know your job. Like, what's happening with like the whole spectrum of like Craig's life right now?
Yeah. So I'll start with one that, the ball started rolling on like a couple of months ago, and I feel it's going pretty well. Growth. So for me, last year, the scrolling thing, I realized when I was on secondment, where that's where they say, look, we just need doctors to work this hospital. In my case, it's 2 hours north. The average age is something like 60 something in that area. Not a huge place. And I found myself, with shift work, just scrolling on my phone. Like, not really, my housemates and the people I was there with, like, they were often offset. So you were just kind of waiting for a shift to start for the night shift or the evening shift. And I'd be scrolling there. And then I realized after about 3 weeks that my screen time was like so high, and I'd lost all of this life to the phone. And then I was like, you know what? Nah. I want to at least add to my life in ways that I value and I think that are pretty cool. So I went back to some of my hobbies and I was like, what can I do to grow some of these hobbies in a way that challenges me? Because I think that, we all like being challenged and doing something that's fun. So one of my big challenges or one of my big areas that I wanted to get better in is actually swimming. It's really embarrassing to say in Australia that you're not a great swimmer, but I'm not a great swimmer. I can hold my own, in the water. But as for those people that get up and, do laps or whatever for half an hour, I want to be them, but I am not them. I could not do that. There is no way that I would, be in existence for more than 10 minutes and want to keep going. So that's one of the things that I've been working on over the last, you're welcome, over the last couple of months. And I feel like that's going all right now. I still suck. Like, I'm still so bad, but I'm actually getting in the pool and I am doing something that I've put no action towards since I was probably 7 or 8 was the last time that I tried to get better at swimming. And it's really fun, actually.
Yeah. It's also, your sister told me something. I just saw her last couple weeks ago.
Yep.
And she's like, you're a professional beginner. And I was like, yeah, it's a really good term. You're a professional beginner. Like, you're meant to suck at something, So that's really cool, though, that you're like going back into the hobbies and like going back to the personal growth of it all.
But yeah, it sucks so bad. It sucks telling people, hey, by the way, I'm practicing my swimming. Everyone looks at you like what kind of happened for you, over the last couple of, years to decades? How have you not learned how to swim yet? They say, well, I could swim kind of, but not really that great.
Yeah. I keep meeting
Okay.
people weirdly,
Hell yeah.
not weirdly.
Hell yeah.
That sound very patronizing towards you, but I went most of my adult life most of my life without meeting anyone who like couldn't swim at all. But in recent years, I keep meeting people who just have never learned to swim. My girlfriend can't swim, for example. She's never learned to swim. None of her family can swim. It's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Now that I think about it, I don't know a ton of people who can. I mean, like, there are people who like can't like swim and they just, like can paddle around. But, there's a difference. Is there anything you're like working on right now?
Oh yeah. Let's see. Yeah, probably. Yeah, no. One of the big challenges that's been coming up in my life right now is kind of moving and transitioning to a registrar program over the next few weeks. And that's like its own kind of identification of, well, you have these things right now which are like going well or not going well. Mostly I'm pretty positive on it. I'd say it's been going pretty well. But then the jump coming up that you see is like, it's like you're on kind of the ramp and you're approaching a ski jump or whatever. And you can see that it's a big ramp and you're almost at the end and you're like, oh, that's great. That's like right there at the other side of it. I think that that's probably kind of the part where I'm working on the most, is just that feeling of being like, holy crap, am I wholly inadequate to do the job in about 1 month's time? And that's been pretty tough to be working on at the moment, being like, you know what, I think that it'll be okay. Because you can just cognitively de-link and be like, based on the facts, I think that I'll be okay. But then when you like become a human again, your emotions just say, that's a big bad.
I feel like it's like imposter syndrome mixed with being a professional beginner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But people, I can tell you, people don't want you to walk into the patient curtains and say, hi, my name's Craig. I'm a professional beginner. Your loved one is dying. Anyway, I think. So it's this really odd space where it's like people often will reassure you and say, it's okay to, not be perfect and, everyone's starting from the beginning or whatever. But at the same time, people say, just don't ever let that show,
Yeah,
you
it's
know?
definitely it's a confidence thing, isn't it? Do you
Yeah.
think that
Yeah.
when you've actually started, you're kind of preempting it now, but when you've actually started and you're actually doing the thing, do you think that
Mhm.
once you've actually got started, actually in the
Think
flow
that
of things,
once
that
you've
it will feel better?
got the new machine,
I think so. I think that it'll be one of those ones where, once you're in the water, you just keep swimming. I think that it'll feel better eventually, hopefully. But I feel like almost everybody I know who has made this kind of transition has said that it is uniquely one of the biggest challenges that they do. But then right when you ask after that, so do you think I'll be okay? Everyone just says, yeah, you'll be
You'll be
fine.
fine.
So we'll see, we'll see. But that's one of the areas where I'm like, professional growth in this way is an outstanding like imposter syndrome kind of challenge that is on the horizon. For me, the academic year starts in just over 2 weeks. So watch this space and I'll tell you how it's going.
Damn. Yeah. I mean, I think it's super relatable though, like making a career shift and then feeling imposter syndrome and being like, am I going to be fine? I don't know. I don't know, but I'll figure it out. And like, hopefully I'll, learn on the job
Oh
and
yeah,
like make it work.
yeah,
But in the
100%. I
meantime,
mean,
it's like
you know
very
how many
scary.
how many jobs I've started and then started. But every time I start those jobs, it's I'll be in training for
start
a
those
couple of
jobs.
weeks up to a month
I've been a
before I
trainer.
actually start the job. And during training, I'm like, I wish this would just go on and on. I wish training was the job. I never want to leave training. I don't actually want to
Training
start
was-
because I'm scared that I'm going to get it wrong
Keep
or
on-
that I'm going to get on the phones because obviously I've mostly done sales. I'm going
Get
to
on
get
the
on the phones
phone,
and the client's going to know that I'm new. They're going to know that I don't know what I'm
the
talking
client
about.
but
But it is just a time thing. Every time it's just actually just getting started, getting the job done, and learning. And that's no one actually knows, no one actually cares as long as you're confident enough. And I think that's the main thing.
Hell yeah. Hell fucking yeah.
What about you, Sasha?
Right now in life, areas that are going great are my fun and my growth, which was the whole intention of this year. The whole intention of this year was to grow as much as possible and to have as much fun as possible. And I am doing that. I think I've been really prioritizing those two things, like learning a lot of new skills. Like Heather, like Craig's sister, taught me how to surf a couple weeks ago, which was like a huge goal. I mean, granted, like I don't know, but I stood up once, so it counts. Definitely spending more time practicing, being a professional beginner there. Like I did my first scuba dive. Like I'm experiencing a lot of really new things and growing in that way. And also just like the process of being outside of my comfort zone and like the process of doing this whole thing is teaching me a lot about life. And I feel myself like releasing control in a way that I've never done before and not sweating the small stuff in a way that I've never done before, which like feels really good, especially for me who's like go, go, go all the time. Everything needs to be done perfectly and on time, always. Being able to release control and just like kind of be more go with the flow has been feeling really good and uncomfortable, but good. And then I've just been having so much fun, just like a ridiculous amount of fun, just like seeing this like gorgeous country, continent, island, and really just enjoying my time and being present in my travels has been like top notch and just so much fun. But the challenges that I'm seeing is like mainly career and there are some of these habits that I want to have that like keep slipping through the cracks. Like I was like, okay, 2025, I'm gonna meditate every freaking day of this year. I think that lasted like 3 days. Like I've meditated, but not consistently. Like I wanted to floss my teeth every day because, I'm like finally gonna be the person who goes to the dentist and they're like, oh my God, you flossed. Like I wanted to be that person. That lasted like 3 days. Have that like it just I haven't been keeping up with these habits at all just because I've been prioritizing and even like the waking up early and everything. Like I'm doing my best, but I've been prioritizing like having fun over sleep. So my sleep score has been shit from my Aura ring for the last 2 weeks. Like it just has been horrible. And then career, I find is pretty challenging. Like my 9 to 5, the work is always getting done because I wouldn't be able to do what I do right now without my team enabling me to work remotely. So that work always gets done no matter what. But it's like the side hustles. I'm doing what I have to do. Like I'm getting through the bare minimum, but I had all these huge plans for the year and all these like huge things. Like I have so much content from my time and I want to be doing a series about that, but I just like making the time to put it together and post it is really difficult. And it's like, okay, well, maybe I should learn how to delegate to AI, or maybe I need to hire a team member and like actually have someone help me with all of this, because there's so much work that like the business can expand so much because there's so much entertainment value in everything I'm doing. But it's like actually making the time to like put together, like upload like take the video, download it and upload it somewhere, or cut it together and like post it on whatever platform. It's so much work is slipping through the cracks because I'm just so present in my travels and so present in what I'm doing currently that like I'm not making the time to do all these extra things. So like while I'm here hanging out with Craig, like he's going to be working all day and he's like, what are you going to do while you're here? And I'm like, I'm going to work. Like I need some time to sit down and like do my shit. And then we can like hang out in the evenings or whatever. Or like if I finish early enough, I'll like hit the beach. But like I'm treating this as like a couple days to like actually sit down and get my shit done, because things have just been like I'm doing for my side hustles at least, I'm just doing the bare minimum to make sure that episodes
Do
are
you
coming
think that
out
when you're
like twice a week.
back from
Yeah.
Australia that it'll become easier? Because obviously right now you're on this incredible trip. Do you think you'll have more time when you're back, or is that not
Do you
really
think you'll
time?
have more time to
I think that this whole year of travel is just going to consistently be, the thing about Australia is that like I've been going. Like I have not been in one place for more than 3 days. And that's only happened 2 times in the last like 2.5 weeks. So I've been like most nights I'm like only somewhere for one night. And that's it. Like being in transit constantly is challenging. I don't know if this is going to go away. Like I think because I'm traveling for the whole year and I'm like going to be doing so many activities and whatever, like I don't know if it's going to get better. I think I just have to learn how to manage my time more effectively, or I need to learn how to delegate, because like I humanly, like I cannot do everything I'm setting out to do. Like I don't have the capabilities at this point. But all of these things I like want to happen because they're like really, really cool and they'll expand the business. But it's like I think I really need to look into, that's a goal the next couple of days. It's like, what can I delegate to AI? If I can't delegate to AI, like do I need to hire a team member to like help me take care of some of the stuff, even if that's like an intern to like take on the social media stuff like a freaking Gen Z whiz who can do it in their sleep. I don't know if it's going to get better. I think I just need to get better at managing it.
But that will come with time, won't it? The longer you're traveling, and you're only in the first few weeks of this whole traveling thing, and of this year, it will. The more time
Yeah.
you spend doing this, the more you'll figure out systems, the more ideas you'll come up with as to how you can manage this. So just like with me, and being too hard on myself too early on in the year, I think it's exactly the same for you. It feels overwhelming now, but you will figure it out as time on.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's like kind of all relatable at the same time, where it's like there's this thing that's new for all of us. And it's like, I want this thing to be perfect and I want everything to work. And it's like, I want to be the best at it right now. But we're quite literally just figuring out how to do this thing. Like, we're not going to be perfect at it, And just like having, I think, more grace for ourselves is something that's needed for sure.
And I love that you're having so much fun, and I love that you're out there doing all these cool things. And I've heard a couple of crazy stories that probably aren't suitable for the podcast, but you're having an amazing time. You're living the life that
you're having
you should be, and that that I envisioned when you told me about this whole upcoming year and traveling and everything, exactly what you've described to me. And I'm so glad that you are doing that and that you're having fun, and that's so important. And the other stuff when it comes to work and side hustles,
When
they
it
can
comes to
take a little bit of a break.
side
you can do the
hustles.
bare minimum here and there, as long as it doesn't become kind of a habit that keeps going. But I think in the first few weeks, it's important that you
Yeah.
have kind of let your hair down and you've had the fun that you've had. And I'm so glad that you have, and that you've allowed yourself to do that.
Yeah, there's a lot of growth happening here, I think, for all of us. But we love you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Lovely.
It's nice to see you, Josh.
Thanks for waking up early too. For us here right now, it's like we got up at 6 o'clock in the morning to do this. For Josh, it's the evening. So thank you for waking up early. I know you're not a morning person.
That's great. One exception is
We love you so much. It's so good to like see you and hang with you after quite literally almost a fucking
10
decade.
years, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll hit you with a different way of saying it. In a couple years, we're pretty close, in a couple of years, as much time will have passed between when we first met and a couple of years' time as birth to going to the first event.
Wow.
Whoa.
That is crazy.
That's wild to think about. Do you have any profound thoughts you want to share with anybody?
Yeah, I do. I've got a big one, actually.
Drop a wisdom bomb to take us out.
All right. So my big wisdom bomb, my biggest one is last year I got the amazing opportunity to do some time in the palliative care ward. And on the palliative care ward, you see so many beautiful souls. You know, people live, and part of life is people also die as well. A lot of the people that I was dealing with were coming from this amazing point of like growth and connection, you know, the staff to also the visitors and the patients themselves. And you got this kind of slowed down approach to hearing about what was really important in people's life, because people really want to tell you. And I have to say that almost all of them, without any exception, said, you need to go outside and you need to go, you know, have good like memories and adventures, because, you know, they were all thankfully quite elderly when they were in their, you know, at the oldest it would have been 90s, but the youngest would have been in their 70s, and they were just saying, you just got to go and do it. Like, you got to have your fun year. You got to have, you know, the things that you work towards. One gentleman bought me a bottle of champagne after a very memorable kind of medication thing which happened. And he was just like, you know, you've got to go and do your hustle and have a great time. He was a doctor as well, and he'd become a patient. So I feel like the time that people talk about and they say, that's the best time of your life, that's the time that, you know, people remember when they're thinking back about their life fondly. I think that that's right now for, you know, all of us. And it's really nice to kind of realize that when you're in the moment, and not be like 4 or 5 years down the track and thinking, I wish I knew at the time that this was the best years of my life or whatever. You know, so it's just, I just think about that sometimes. I think like, you know, this is kind of like the nicest point in life that you remember for the rest of it.
I love that. I also, I'm such a huge believer in living your life every day, you know, not letting a day pass by where you don't create some sort of a memory, or you don't just get outside. I think that's so important, especially, you know, for me, you know, I work from home. I spend most of my day inside in the same four walls, not even just in the same four walls, in the same room. And if you do that too much, it's not the way we're supposed to live. You know, it's not the way that, if you think about our kind of ancestors going back thousands and thousands, millions of years, you know, that's not how they lived. It's not what's in our being. It's not to do. We are meant to.
I cannot imagine you in one room for the whole day, Josh. I can't imagine
doing it at the moment, but I always make a point every single day to get out, to go for a walk, to go and see friends. It's so important to go and, you know, create those memories and to actually just live. So I'm a big believer in that.
Yeah. Incredible. Yeah, we're in the prime of our lives. Let's fucking live it. Anyway, thanks so much, guys, for listening. Craig's gotta get to work, so we're gonna sign off. But we love you, and we will catch you next week. Bye.
Bye.
We hope you enjoyed this episode.
Don't forget to subscribe. leave us a review and follow along on social media.
If you would like us to help you mastermind something in your life, please send us a message.
We'll see you next week on the Mastermind Moments podcast.